Hello everybody and welcome back to the Hilltop Pillbox here in Abbotsford, British Columbia, Canada. And today we're going to be looking at Battle Cry. Battle Cry is it's a game that came out in the 90s, and I have the old version as well. This is the 150th Civil War Anniversary Edition, came out in 2010. And there are some changes between it and the other one, but I'm not going to belabor a ton of rules. I'll just tell you how things work and the different units and how the game is played. So here I have set up for you one of the scenarios. This is actually, does anybody recognize this battle? There's a river. It's got only one crossing point. I'll give you a hint. That's Ambrose Burnside, the general there. So if you just shouted out, "That's Antietam," you would be correct. And so here in the book they give you a whole bunch of different scenarios that you can spell out, and this is Antietam here. So as you look at this, you can see the river up in the top and the different units have been placed in the proper spots. But they got Bull Run and Manassas and of course Gettysburg, second and third day there, the Devil's Den and Pickett's Charge. And they've got Chickamauga and just tons of different ones in there, and I'll be telling you a little later about another option that you can use to set things up. But here we have a set piece battle between the Confederacy, that's sitting on this side of course, and the Union sitting on the other side. And so here you have the different units, and I chose a scenario that has almost all of the different terrain and utilizes all of the different units, so I can explain them without having to dig into the box too much. Alright, so we're going to start with the basic one. That's infantry. So here's infantry here, and each of the units that you have has a number of companion units that go with it. So the flag bearers, when they die, that means you've killed an entire unit. They're removed from the board, and so well, I'll leave that guy there. So if I were to say destroy this Billy Yank here and destroy his whole unit, we take him and we'd put him there. And then each scenario says that you have a victory condition. So for instance, this is the second Bull Run, and the victory is 6 flags. So once you've taken your 6th flag off, it's done. And you don't do the, well, you know, I take off 6 flags on my turn, then you get to have an attack. No, it doesn't go like that at all. As soon as that 6th one comes off, it's over. Alright, so back to the infantry here. We have this lone infantryman, and with him are 3 figures that go with him. And so all the infantry units are made up of 4 figures. Now later on there are some scenarios where they use understrength battalions, and so they will only have 3 in them. That's usually the South, kind of getting beat up near the end. Also there's one point where they bring in essentially boys, like young men, 15, 16-year-olds to do a charge. And so yeah, terrible decision to be made during a terrible time. Things that we just don't appreciate. But before I wax too historical, we'll carry on. So that's the infantry. Over here we have the cavalry, and you can see there's 3 units of cavalry. Okay, got your flag and 2 companions. Then you have the artillery, which also has 3 units. You got the cannon, you got a spotter, and a loader. Okay, I'm not sure if that's called a loader, but I call him a loader because he's got a stick and probably shoves the cannonball down there and then rams it down with the big stick there. So yes, I'm a military guy. And they have 3 units as well. And then you have these guys on their own. Okay, so these guys on their own, of course, are going to be your generals. Okay, but they will join up with the unit, and the thing they do when they join up with the unit, there we go, besides getting it crowded in there, they add a die to the attack. So typically you would have, say, 2 or 3 or 4 dice, and when the general comes along, general can give you an extra one. Okay, alright, so let's see, this is Longstreet, I think. We're going to put him back there, and this is Stonewall Jackson. Of course, we got Burnside, and then I think it's Sumner is the other one, and Hooker's over here with his massive army that finally got through here. But, so those are the units. All right, now we're going to go over terrain. The board is just nicely kind of colored like grass and dirt, and that means it has no effect on shots, doesn't block line of sight, of course, nice flat ground. But then you're going to have things like, say, hills. Hills block line of sight. You can't shoot anybody who's directly behind a hill. But here, although we have a hill here, we can see from the center of this hex right here, we can see the center of that hex there, and so we could shoot. So if you've played a lot of hex-based games, it'll be fairly easy for you to figure out where you can and can't shoot, what you can and can't see. The one thing you do want to take note of, though, is that line of sight can get blocked if it's crowded on both sides of the line. So for instance, here we are. Let's just say we had infantry here, and let's say they were wanting to shoot at these guys over here. Okay, so as we look straight down, they can't see, right? They can't see anything from the center of this one this way. Can't see it. All right, but they can. You can always see straight forward. So if there were a unit here, they'd be able to shoot at them. Okay, but even if they had the range, they couldn't shoot at these guys. Okay, down here on that end. Okay, because they're blocked on this side, and then moving farther forward on a straight line, then they're blocked on the same side. So it's as though this were sitting right there and was blocking their line of sight. All right, so just know that that can happen, especially with the artillery, because it's longer ranged than anything else in this game. These are wheat fields, and wheat fields also block line of sight, and so wheat field and the woods block line of sight. And there's some other stuff. There's orchards and whatnot, and I'm just not going to get into that right now. I don't want to be rules heavy here. There are little settlements here. These are just houses, a few houses here. Forget the name they give those. This is a town. This is Sharpsburg, of course, just outside of Antietam, the Antietam Creek. And so this is both of these places add a defensive posture to whoever's in there, but also the attack for the unit that is inside a town can only go out so far. They can't fire at their full range. All right, well, you're asking, well, what is the range? Well, hey, I'm here to tell you. Thanks for asking. Infantry are your most common unit, and they will shoot dice regardless of how many people are left. So whether or not they've got 4 in this unit or they're just down to the flag, they still can shoot the same amount. So if there's somebody right beside them, they'd get 4 dice, and then you subtract 1 die for each hex that you move back. So for here we'd have 4, 3, 2, 1 die. So if there were a lone guy here, then the south here could take a pot shot at him, no problem. But as you can see right now, they are too far away. They're just way too far away for any sort of an attack to happen. Okay? But these guys here are a little closer. So we go 4, 3, 2, 1. So they could take 1 shot. And maybe these guys want to get in on it. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey, that's pretty cool. But here's the thing. They could actually move first. I'm not going to move everybody. But they could move first. And now it's 4, 3, 2. So they'd get 2 attack dice. Okay? Because infantry can move and shoot in most terrain. Especially in open terrain. Okay? Most of the movement rules are if you go into something that blocks line of sight, such as trees and cornfields, wheat fields, you stop, and when you shoot out, you're not going to be as effective. Hills, though, there's no movement restriction on hills. You can typically only move 1 anyway, but cavalry can move 3 and leaders can move 3. Plus you might have cards that allow you to move 2. There's like a forced march card that allows the infantry to move 2 in a single turn, so you can get the jump on somebody. But hills will let you do that. Okay, so you can go up there on the hill. Now again, hills will block line of sight, except if you're right beside another hill and there's another unit right on top of it, then you can shoot at them. Otherwise, hills like anything behind there is they can't see. Okay, so right now these guys here could shoot at them. 4, 3, 2. Okay, these guys here that are behind the hill, so they couldn't shoot until they had moved. But once they move, again, I'll just move one guy. Once they move, now it's 4, 3 dice. So you can see it's pretty devastating. If you can get these guys, moving up to here, and these guys moving up to here, you can see why Burnside had a long day. And then you got the Confederate reinforcements back here. So I've talked about the dice for the infantry. Now for the artillery, artillery works the exact same way, except they have a range of 5. So we'll just put poor sucker right there, and it would go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so that's how that works. If they get up on a hill, units get an extra range, but it's still only 1 die. So, for instance, if artillery got up onto this hill here, it would be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1. Okay, so they get an extra range, but still only 1 die. But still, you can really reach out and touch someone, and cause them grief. And then the defense of the fences, and the defense of the woods, and the defense of the hills, and the defense of all these things. Most of them give, what they do is they subtract a die from the people attacking you. So for instance, if Billy Yank comes up here and he's shooting at Johnny Reb, if this were open field, it would be 4, 3, he'd get 2 dice. But because there's a fence here, it's 4, 3, 2, and then you minus 1, and he only gets 1 die against these guys. Whereas shooting back, they get 4, 3, 2 dice. Okay, so that's how that works. That's pretty much it. I'm going to show you guys the rolling and how the rolling actually works. But first, it's important for you to realize that this is a card-driven game. And you can see on the map there are these straight lines that run right across the map. There's 2 of them, which creates 3 sections to the map. So you have your left flank, your center, and your right flank. And the cards tend to speak to those flanks in a very singular fashion. So as we look here, we see that these are scouting cards, so you can give 1 order to 1 unit on one of those. So you would play 1 card out of your hand, and you could play 1 card for a probe that allows you to use 2 different units on that particular flank. The attack is a 3. The assault means that you can issue orders to as many units as you have cards in your hand, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And then we have 3 that are kind of neat. These are new to the game. They're not the same as the other game, the other version of Battle Cry, pardon me. So there's outflank, so you can order 2 orders on both flanks. Recon and force, 1 from each. And then a coordinated advance, 2 from each. There is a card that's in the old one that we loved, and it was called All Out Offensive, and that's where everybody goes. Yeah, that was fun, but it's not in this game. They took it out. I think if it came up, somebody would get it and just hold it until they can do a devastating attack and take 4 flags and end the game. So I think that's probably why it was gone. There's a bunch of other cards. You can play 1 card per turn. So there's reinforcements. You get to roll dice and get reinforcements. Short supply, you can force one of his back to the back line, one of his units, or yours if you want to protect it. Sharpshooter, it's how you kill generals, and there's another way to do it. And then I'm just going to go along here. There's things for the artillery, things for the cavalry, things for your leaders, things to help out units that are beat up. There's the forced march I mentioned. And then there's the counterattack card. Okay, and there's a couple of these in here. The counterattack card just lets you do whatever that person did to you, but you got to flip the thing. So let's say the Confederacy plays a card where they get to do, let's call it an attack on the right flank. Okay, so you're going to do an attack on the right flank. That means they can move 3 units and attack with them. So these 2 guys will hop up on the hills and shatter Burnside's brigades there. But then if Burnside played the counterattack card, he would then say left, and he could use 3 units on his left to attack. So As you know, and no matter how many you have left, so even if Buddy here can come up here and he could attack there, he'd get 4 dice minus 1 for the hill, 3 dice, and he might be able to do some damage right back. So the counterattack is a nice card to have. Fight back is the same thing. If you're having something that got beat up, it can turn around and do stuff. And battle and hold, I mean, you can, every unit in the section gets to fight but doesn't get to move. So that's a good one when you're behind a wall or a fence or in the trees or something and you just want to hammer down on somebody. That's always a good one. So those are all the different cards, except for one of my favorites, which is a sneaky one, but it's kind of fun, Construct Fieldworks. So you basically get to take one of these and lay it down anywhere that you have troops that you want to protect them. So in this case right now, the South doesn't really have a spot for that, but it's a nice one to place when you have been able to get some artillery moved up, because they're probably not going to move much anyway from that spot. And now it subtracts a die from what the other person attacks, and some of them will actually subtract 2 dice depending on the scenario. Sometimes you're actually digging trench works. That's what these ones here are. That's the opposite side, the trench works, and then here you have field works. Okay, just hastily scrubbed together stuff that ended up stopping more musket balls than bodies did. So handy things. All right, so let's just do a quick look here at Antietam. It looks like the Confederacy is down a little bit in numbers. They have 7 infantry divisions to the Union's 8. The Union has 2 artillery divisions to Confederates' 1. Confederacy does have cavalry though, which the Union lacks, and the Union has 3 commanders, whereas the Confederacy just has the 2. So it's a little bit on the north side as far as numbers, but positioning is by far better for the Confederacy. One thing here though, you can't shoot through your own troops. So although this one here is nice, he's probably going to want to move up here so he can at least shoot down the line and take care of some of that middle stuff. And hello, I just remembered there was something I said I was going to show you guys, and then I forgot. So we did the game, and the North got trounced really badly. In fact, we had 4 infantry on this side for the Confederacy, and they just kept marching and marching and marching and kept going up there, and they eventually killed everybody. They ended up retreating Burnside off the board and killed them. So they won the board basically just on the right side. They got 4 flags, I think, on that side. So it was pretty ugly. So I was going to show you guys an alternate way to set things up. So you have all of your different tiles, and you just take your tiles, you stack them up, and you can do whatever you want with this, folks. I highly recommend that you decide early, though, if you're going to have water or not. And water can be tricky because you do need to start from an edge, but you can certainly throw it in there. And then there is an ending tile of water. I should have gotten that out. I'm sure it's here somewhere. Where's my end tile of water? Well, there is a tile where water actually ends and pools. And so wherever your last water tile is, that's where you would place it. So if you're drawing tiles and you only end up getting a few, there's a little bit of an oxbow there, and some other ones here. Yeah, I don't see it here. But what you do is the very first thing is you set up the terrain. So let's say that we had agreed that we weren't going to use any water, but we would use hills and woods and rocks and things like that, even towns. And then you just stick them up like this, and however many you want. 20 is a nice number. Now that sounds like an awful lot, but this last scenario had about that, and 20 seems to be a really good number. And so what you do is you pick up a tile if you're the first person, and you get your choice of woods or hills, and you can place it anywhere you want. Alright, so throw a hill up there. Pull this one, it's a wheat field on one side and water on the other, and maybe we decided not to use water, so let's put a wheat field over here. And you just build up your map this way, however you want to set things. And you can make a choke point, right? You can have a choke point with a forest on the end, whatever you want to do. And you just set everything up one at a time. So wherever you place and your opponent places, and you just build the board. And it's kind of interesting. Some people have their go-tos, the things they really like to do. Some people hate forests because it slows down the game. Some people love hills because it gives you extended range. Some people like the towns because they're pretty tough nuts to crack. All right. But whatever you do, you go ahead and set everything up. All right. So we're not going to worry about setting up a whole thing with terrain. But the next thing I'm going to show you is how you choose your units. And in this box, you have 3, 6, 9, 10 infantry. You have 3 cavalry, and you have 3 artillery, and you have 3 leaders. Okay. As far as the flag bearers go, of course, you got all the little extra pieces as well. And by the way, these flags are notorious for coming off. So if you ever do buy this game and the flags keep coming off, you know what? You're not special. We all suffer with it. It's annoying trying to find them sometimes. But hey, you can tape them on there. I know some people have done that, and some people have actually bought special ones, not used the out-of-box ones, but gone and made their own. I haven't had the desire to go that big into this game, but it is a great game. Alright, so what you do is, let's say I have the Union here, and then on the other side, my friend would have the Confederacy all lined up there. So there's 19. And so what you do is you roll the die. And we got a 4. And you count. You go 1, 2, 3, 4. And you take this guy out, and you place him in the one of the back 2 rows. And you can place him anywhere you want. Alright, so, even if there were a hill here, you can say, I'm going to place him on the hill. Good for me, right? And then my opponent would roll, and then I roll again. You get 15. It's a 15 there. Okay, so then we know it's 19, 18, 17, 16, 15. Oh, I got some artillery. Well, that'd be nice to have on the hill, but we already put infantry there, so we'll put the artillery there. And you roll again, and you just keep rolling. Got a 1, more infantry. You place them wherever you want, and you just build your board up. Okay, so here I got a 3, but you got to then scrunch these together. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and 14. So now we've already placed 4. I might have messed this up on the second guy, but it's no big deal. Would have been artillery either way. We got 14, and we know that we have 15 left here, so we know that we just got ourselves a leader. And maybe we'll put the leader with the guys on the hill there. And on you go, and eventually you're going to end up with a number of things out here, and you decide early on how many are we going to put out. Are we going to put everybody out, or are we going to put 10 out? Okay, so what you have here is 12. Okay, which means that we are leaving 7 that aren't being used. Okay, so that's 12. So that's what 12 looks like. You have about 4 per flank and for the center. Nice even number. Okay, but you don't have to spread them out like that. You can say, you know what, shoot, I'm going to just put everybody. That's cavalry. We'll leave him there. We're going to put everybody in the center here. Throw some arty there. Maybe put a leader with those guys. Grab my cavalry. And we're just going to go whole hog in the center. Okay? You can certainly do that. It's the beauty of this setup. Okay, so once you've done that, then you fill out all of the different units with whatever they need. So, as we know, infantry always has 3 pips. 3 extra guys, I should say. I've been talking a lot of dice recently with pips, but you put those guys on there, and now it's a full unit. And you flesh out the artillery and the cavalry. Okay. So once you've done that, so you got your terrain, you're going to have your 2 armies facing each other. That is where you can do this any number of ways. You can do a die roll. You can use these, okay? And, well, you would just use one because they're on each side. And one person can flip, okay? And whoever wants to flip, flips. And this is what you would be at the end. Okay, so I got the north. So then this would be my setup. Okay, that would be my, I'd know that I'm working with this. However, if I would have flipped that, I would switch sides. I'd go sit on the other side of the table and utilize the army and the setup that my opponent has placed there. And then you just start slugging it out as normal. We like to use the objectives sometimes. The objectives are also worth a flag, so if you capture an objective, you know, then you can, at the end of the game when everything is said and done, okay, so you capture it. So let's say we get this guy here, he's all by himself, but he captured it, yay. But then maybe some, you know, where do we got here? Oh, let's get some Confederate infantry comes by and kills them, and then they move onto that square, it flips it over, okay. So then when you get to your 6 flags or 8 flags or however many flags you want to make your personal game, you do that, but then you also add the objectives. And it has happened where we've said, okay, we're going to play to 6 flags, okay? And maybe the Union gets 6 Confederate flags, and you're, hey, I got 6 Confederate flags, but the Confederate guy has 5 Union flags plus these 2, so he has 7, which means he would win. And so we reward guys who get out there and mess it up, you know? You don't build these massive armies to sit back in a game like this. In real life, sure. I mean, we're talking about real lives at this point. But on this game, we just like guys getting out there and just start throwing them and see what happens. So that's the alternate setup for Battle Cry. It was developed by my buddy Galen and I years ago. He took the lead on that one. We tweaked it a couple of times. And unfortunately, I haven't been able to play with him in this game in 20 years, something like that. But I have played this version with many other people. Because although there are many different scenarios in the book, although there are many different scenarios in the book, you know, and some pretty good ones. Some of them are you know, this one here is pretty sparse. And as soon as the Confederacy can get up on these hills, it's pretty much curtains for the Union. But that was first Bull Run, wasn't it? Right? It was. It was just they didn't know how to fight. They figured the South would just give up. Okay, so McDowell had a bad day. Then you get Pea Ridge. Okay. And Kernstown. I don't know much about some of these. Shiloh I know about. That was a mess. That was a huge battle. Gaines Mill. Wasn't quite as big, but Lee sure took a pounding on this one. I think he lost about like 8,000 or 9,000 guys that day. So here we go with all these different ones. Antietam, which was utterly dreadful for everybody. Fredericksburg, which was, as you know, just a bloodbath. You can see the entrenchments here. That would mirror the stone wall. So, all right. Well, I don't want to go through all these with you. You're going to get bored. Gettysburg, of course. Just wanted to show you that. So, as I said before, hug your loved ones. Let your friends know they're important to you. And we're going to let the Union win this because I flipped Union. May the dice be with you.